You're welcome back. Staying with the political situation in Rivers, things are getting really heated up. And to get some more insights, perhaps a legal angle, because a lot of this is actually legal. There's a political bit as well, but then the legal angle comes in, and things are a bit confusing, might seem. So let's get some clarity. We're joined by legal practitioner, Mr. Inibehe Effiong, who joins us virtually on the show this morning. Welcome to the morning brief. I know you've been watching what's playing out in Rivers State for months now. Yes, we'll talk about national issues, but seeing the court ruling, the judgment at the Rivers High Court, the Federal High Court, and looks like people are choosing which they would obey. The governor says there's already one from Rivers High Court, so that's what we're obeying. Others, the police saying that, well, we got an order from the Federal High Court. What do you see when you look at this? Which of the judgments should be obeyed? Which should not be obeyed? How should the people of Rivers really interpret this?
Thank you and good morning. I'm not sure if the order of my lord, the Honorable Justice Peter Alefo, is a final order or an interrogatory order. But what is important is that the Federal High Court had made some orders, including one barring the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, from releasing the voters register for Rivers State to the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. Now, the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission has stated clearly that they already have the state voters register and therefore do not require INEC to avail them of another one. Now, the court, the Federal High Court in this case, I haven't seen the order, but it is reported to have also ordered that the police should not accord security to the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. I'm also aware that the High Court of Rivers State had ordered the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission to proceed with the local government elections in Rivers State. Now, if my lord, my noble lord, the Honorable Justice Lifu, did not ban, prevent, or make an order of injunction saying that the election should not hold at all, I do not know the premise upon which INEC or the Inspector General of Police or any other authority or person will now seek to prevent the election from taking place. But if the court has said that the election should not hold at all, then we will now be faced with the question of what should happen as between the order of the High Court of Rivers State and the Federal High Court. But from what I know, I have stated what I understand the orders of the learned judge of the Federal High Court, Justice Lifu, to have been. Now, let us look at the matter further. The reality today is that, contrary to the constitutional provision of Section 7 of the Constitution that guarantees a system of democratically elected local government council, it guarantees and protects a system, I repeat, of democratically elected. The reality today is that we do not really have a system of democratically elected local government council. What these governors have basically done is to make a mockery of the Constitution, and I'm not speaking specifically about Fubara, across the 36 states of the Federation. I cannot find a single state today that one can say democratically elected local government council election has taken place. What they basically do is coronation. They just sit down, write names, and what you find is that in a state governed by the APC, all the councillors, all the chairmen will be APC. In a state governed by the PDP, all the councillors, all the chairmen will be PDP. But in Rivers State, curiously, because of the internal wrangling in the PDP and the APC, it appears that loyalists of the governor have now moved, I think, to the APP or so. So do not be surprised that when the results are declared, if the election holds, it will be 100% just the way it is in the state where the governors are determining what happened. So I have reservations about the efficacy of our local government system. Now the Supreme Court had intervened to say that local government areas or councils that do not have democratically elected system should not enjoy federal allocation. It is on the basis of that judgment of the Supreme Court that these governors are desperately doing, organizing, these pretentious electoral exercises, these comic exercises in the name of election, just to have access to the local government allocation. That is what it is about. Now, regarding the conduct of the Inspector General
Mr. Inibehe, that seems to be the consensus about this flurry of conduct of local government elections across the country. But before we exit the Rivers matter, I'd like you to also speak to this foiled attempt by what the Rivers State government calls rogue policemen to take possession of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. We now understand that the police is abiding by the federal high court order. But in abiding by the abiding by that order, should they have taken possession of the office of RCEC or not provide security as the court ordered? I'd like you to interpret what the police has done in this, in light of the circumstances.
I think Nigerians should brace up and accept the reality that the current Inspector General of Police, IGP Ebetoko, has behaved more like a politician. And if you look at his antecedents, since he was appointed as the acting IG and later confirmed, and then his tenure extended in controversial circumstances by President Tinubu, this IG has not hidden his willingness to offer the powers of his office or the instrument of his office for partisan outcomes or partisan gains. And I say that with all sense of responsibility. I do not think this IG is non-partisan. I do not think this IG is a disinterested party. Because if the order of the court does not say go and prevent the election from taking place, what you are doing is even an affront on the learned judge. That I must take very strong exception. I repeat, very strong exception to the language of Governor Fubara. No matter how infuriated, no matter how irritated you are, you do not refer to the order of a court as fraudulent or refer to the decision of a learned judge as fraudulent. At best, you can appeal against it, but you do not speak in that manner against the order of a judge. However, the role of the IGP in this matter is questionable because by virtue of section 287 of the Constitution, the order of the federal court is binding on all authorities and persons throughout the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, when you go further to look at the role and the powers of the Inspector General of Police under the Constitution, specifically section 215 of the Constitution, the IGP, of course, acts on the directive of the President. But enforcing the order of a court, you cannot enforce it outside the terms of that order. So if you are saying you want to take over, I don't even know what they mean by take over. It is a military language that you want to take over the premises of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. Is there an express order of court mandating you to do so? If there is none, then you are acting as an outlaw. You are acting as somebody that has no regard for his office, and that kind of behavior stands condemned. We must find a way to insulate our institutions from partisan issues. I had concern when the president extended the tenure of this idea and even came out to tell Nigerians his history with President Tinubu, how he has gained favor from this president. So it does appear that this Inspector General of Police is so far determined to yield himself and his office for partisan gain. But we must remind the IG that people have occupied that office before him, and one day he will vacate that office, and what will history remember him for? If the court say don't provide security, then people don't provide security. But it's not for you to go and say whatever they are calling an election should not take place. That is outside the purview of the order of the court, and that has no legal basis. So if the governor is insisting that the order did not prevent the election from taking place, the IG has no business interfering in the process outside the tenure and the purview of the order of the learned judge of the Federal High Court. But I must stay on record once again that the governor has no reason, has no justification to use deprecatory language on a judge of the Federal High Court or any judicial officer for that matter. Finally, on the point, we really need to ask ourselves a very pertinent question. Should local government be a tier of government that is functioning on its own? Because what we have currently is a mockery. Guess what? At the end of the day, billions of public funds would have been dissipated in the name of the carrot, the shenanigan that the governors call local government elections. At the end of the day, we don't really have elections. The governors sit in their government houses, write names, hand them over to the state electoral commissions, and they announce, and everybody goes to sleep. This is not how to build a democracy. And that is why some of us have expressed reservations about state police. Imagine if we have state police in Rivers State today.
Right.
What would have happened is that Fubara would have ordered his own state police to engage the federal police. That can lead to a bloodbath because governors have demonstrated lack of capacity.
Right.
Lack of capacity to abide by the rule of law. I am not saying that the president is any different.
Right.
I am not saying that at the federal level there is any regard for the rule of law. But we must begin to respect our institutions. We must begin to insist on democratic principles and ensure that governors and the president and the police and every institution of the Nigerian state abide by the rule of law,
right,
respect the constitution, and submit to the judicial process.
Well, Inibehe, I'm glad we at least touched on the constitutional bit of this conversation, and I'm hoping that all of these incidents will guide the constitution amendment process. We've not even talked about this rotational presidency bit, but we have to anchor at this point. Clearly, the issue in Rivers State is now on the front burner, as it should be. But we have to thank you so much for providing your interventions on this one. I know legal practitioners will be split on this issue, but Inibehe, Effiong, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.